Learning to love. Wives are to learn to express admiration and enjoyment regarding all aspects of their husband's physical features. Here now is Gene Getz.
In the previous paragraphs, we saw disappointment on the part of the wife. We saw disappointment on the part of this new bride. We saw disillusionment. But there's a change. Something happened. We know exactly what happened. We can assume communication, understanding. We can assume certain determinations on her part. We can assume that she became realistic. She began to understand, and perhaps she reflected on all the wonderful things that he said about her and admiring her. And so we see her admiring him. Verse 10, my love is fit and strong, notable among 10,000. And I'll let you read the rest of the passage because he talks about his head, his hair, his eyes, his cheeks, his lips, arms, his body, his legs. She admires the way he is made, the way God has created him. Now, obviously, we know that he, as the groom, certainly responded to that because it tapped into a need in his life for admiration, for respect, for love as well, a reciprocal response. And so we see that here. She goes on to say, his mouth is sweetness. He is absolutely desirable. Rather change in her feelings and her approach to the relationship. This is my love, and this is my friend, young women of Jerusalem. She's talking to the young women of Jerusalem. This is my friend. And that friend, that concept relates to that circle of phileo, of friendship. This is not just a man that is interested in me physically, but he's my friend. My best friend. We relate to each other emotionally, spiritually. There's friendship. And an enduring relationship intimately is certainly based upon friendship. Enduring relationship in friendship. A friendship between a man and a woman. I love to hear husbands introduce their wives, particularly after years of marriage. This is my best friend. And vice versa. It's really great. It really speaks, and it's really biblical. This is my friend. Now, at this point, it's important to take a look at the New Testament dimension of beauty. And this is the marvelous thing about the Scriptures. You have balance. And the New Testament brings in an incredible balance. Earlier, we looked at what Peter wrote to husbands about being sensitive to their wives, to consider them joint heirs in Christ, to treat them with sensitivity. But prior to that, he talks to wives, particularly who are married to unsaved husbands. And this must have been a tremendous challenge. To come to Christ as a wife, married to a husband who's not faithful, who's living this lifestyle of paganism, and what you're going to do? How's she going to handle that? Well, Peter simply said this. In the same way, wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands. And he earlier had been talking about submission, particularly as it relates to Christians who were Greek slaves. They had no choice within the Roman Empire when they were taken over. And how they were slaves. There was no way out of that. They could be killed if they tried to escape, if they resisted. And so Paul was dealing, how do you handle that? Well, the same thing is true. You've got wives who are married to husbands. All they'd have to say is, I hate you. I'm going to divorce you. In fact, I'm going to kill you. That's hard for us to grasp, but that was true. That's the kind of power they had. And so he extends from the servants who are there to the wives now who are Christians, and he simply says, submit yourselves to your own husbands so that Even if some disobey the Christian message, they may be won without a message by the way their wives live when they observe your pure, reverent lives, which is an interesting statement in view of the fact that these guys were involved with women that were just the opposite in relationship to their activities in the pagan temple. There was nothing reverent or pure about them. But Peter is saying when they see purity and they see reverence in your life, it's going to get their attention. And it's going to be a mirror to their behavior, that God's going to use that. And so he goes on to say, look, don't try to compete with the world. Number one, don't be threatened by that. And don't try to compensate with their experiences down at the pagan temple. Because that's unreality. It's not God's will. That's a distortion of the gift. Your beauty should not consist of outward things like elaborate hairstyles and the wearing of gold ornaments or fine clothes. Now, he's not saying it's inappropriate to wear nice clothes or jewelry to adorn yourself. That's not what he's saying. What he's saying is there are women that are trying to compensate, and some of the hairdos were unbelievable, 2 feet high, woven with gold. And their major purpose was to try to get the attention of their husbands, to try to compete with the world. And Peter's saying that didn't work. Your husband doesn't want to even see that as an unbeliever. And so he says your beauty should not consist of those outward things. Instead, it should consist of what is inside the heart, with the imperishable quality of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is very valuable in God's eyes. And God used that inner beauty. Now, again, Peter's not saying outward beauty is unimportant. God created that. We've seen that here in the Song of Solomon. God created outward beauty. But the most important beauty is inward, because outward beauty will fade. Inner beauty can grow stronger. Inner beauty is the real thing that lasts, and even unsaved pagan husbands begin to realize it and to see it. They saw the superficiality of what was attracting them on the world side. And to me, that's just a miraculous dynamic that is part of the gospel of Jesus Christ. The reflection and response question, why is internal beauty and attractiveness so important in keeping external beauty from becoming meaningless in a marital relationship? Well, external beauty crumbles when there is no inner beauty. External beauty is very superficial, though important, but without inner beauty, it'll crumble. It can even be a distortion or a distraction or something that is resented. External attraction is very important, obviously, but let's face it, it fades with age. We're born to die. But internal beauty can grow and last, and can be a very enduring quality, even in the extension of the outward beauty and the ability to be intimate. So here's the principle that grows out of this passage. Wives are to learn to express admiration and enjoyment regarding all aspects of their husband's physical features. Earlier we saw that was true of the husband. It's also true of the wife. That is part of that mutual growth together in this relationship.